If you're building up to an autumn marathon right now and you're getting absolutely battered by the heat and humidity of a Northern Hemisphere summer, I need you to do me a massive favour. If you're struggling out there, unless you're one of those rare people who actually enjoys running in the sauna, the next time you go out for a run, I want you to completely stop looking at the pace on your running watch. Because right now, Garmin isn't telling you the whole truth. Yes, it's telling you your speed, your pace, but it's lying about your fitness. I mean, look at me, I've just been sat there on my balcony in Thailand for 10 minutes and I am absolutely drenched in sweat, just like I finished a 10K threshold session. And in a couple of weeks, I'll be back in Abu Dhabi, where I'll be logging all of my miles on a perfectly climate controlled indoor running track. And honestly, I think these two completely different extremes are a perfect way to explain the biggest mistake runners make in August. We confuse our pace with our actual physiological effort. And when you're chasing a goal like a sub-4 marathon, it is so easy to get completely obsessed with the math and the numbers. And you know the golden number, 5:41 per kilometre, the 42.2 kilometres. And when I'm on that indoor running track in Abu Dhabi, in that perfect 20 degrees, holding 5:41 is a breeze. It's a pure aerobic effort. My heart rate is sitting nice and low and I'm just building endurance. And I feel like I could run all day, happy days. But try holding a 5:41 pace out here right now and you feel like you're dying. And maybe you're going through something similar where you are right now. Maybe you're starting to panic about what the next few weeks hold. Maybe you've been for a run today and you've looked down at your wrist and you see that you're running a completely exhausted 6:30 pace and your heart rate is through the roof. Maybe you think to yourself, if I can barely manage marathon pace for 10 kilometers today, how on earth am I going to hold it for 42 kilometers in the next few months? And I know exactly how loud that voice in your head can get. A few years ago, when I was building up for the Chicago Marathon, I went through this exact same spiral. I remember going out for my first few long runs of that block in the absolute dead of summer. I was nowhere near my required pace. I'd finish a weekend long run, stand next to my house with hands on my knees, completely demoralized, looking at the data on my phone and genuinely thinking that my fitness was gone. And I was convinced that the sub-4 dream was dead before the block had even started. But here is the actual proven sports science of why you shouldn't panic. When you run in the summer heat, your body is essentially on survival mode. It's pumping blood away from your working muscles and pushing it out towards your skin so you can sweat and cool down. But if you're running in high humidity, like I am trying to do here, that sweat doesn't evaporate. And evaporation is the only physiological mechanism that actually cools your body down. And because the air is totally saturated with moisture, you just drip. Your core body temperature keeps rising. And because your legs are getting less oxygen-rich blood and your core is overheating, your heart has to beat significantly faster just to maintain the exact same speed. It's a phenomenon called cardiac drift. And it's brutal, especially if you've never experienced it before. So if I or you stubbornly try to force a 5:41 pace in humidity just to satisfy our egos, our heart rates do not stay in zone 2. Your heart rate will completely spike out of control. And we're no longer at that point doing an easy aerobic endurance run. We're almost redlining. We're accidentally putting our body through a threshold session, and we end up accumulating a massive amount of fatigue, draining our central nervous system and gaining little, if any, marathon fitness. And all of that happens because of our egos. We want to see a specific number on our running watch. But here is where the science gets, pardon the pun, cool. Training in the heat isn't just about surviving. It's actually a massive biological advantage. And a few years ago, researchers at the University of Oregon did a fascinating study on heat acclimatization. And they took a group of highly trained athletes, like you and me, and had them work out in 100 degree Fahrenheit for just 10 days. And what they found was incredible. Training in the heat forced the athletes' bodies to increase their blood plasma volume. They literally generated more blood to help with the cooling process. And when those same athletes were tested again in cooler conditions, their VO2 max had jumped by 5%. A 5% increase in VO2 max in just 10 days. Absolutely insane. It's often referred to as a poor man's altitude training. But when October, November, December comes around and the temperature finally drops, you get to keep that extra blood volume. Your heart pumps more oxygen-rich blood with every single beat. You will literally be running faster with less effort. Now, the thing is, you might be thinking, if the heat is this secret weapon, why would I ever run inside? Now, here is the catch. The heat is really good for building your aerobic engine, but it's not so good at practicing your mechanical speed. If you have an easy 90-minute run, get outside, make sure you hydrate, let the heat do its work. And if a 6:30 pace feels like a 5:40 pace, then run 6:30. Your cardiovascular system doesn't know how fast you're running. It only knows how hard it's working. But if you have a complex interval session, if you need to teach your legs how to actually turn over at race pace or faster, the heat is probably going to hold you back. You'll probably redline and gas out before your leg muscles actually get the mechanical benefit of the speed work. Now, this is where the treadmill comes into play. And I know what you're thinking, there's this kind of weird macho culture in the running world where people think if we aren't suffering outside in the elements, the miles don't count. That is complete nonsense. If you have a strict pace and you need to hit that target for speed work, and the humidity outside is actively working against you, get on a treadmill. Turn on the aircon, set the incline to 1% and do the work. Build the engine outside on effort. Build the speed inside on pace. And then there is almost like an elephant in the room, the long run. Where does that fit? And this is the one that messes with our heads the most, just like it did to me during that Chicago marathon build. And when you have a 30-kilometer long run on your spreadsheet, your ego desperately wants to see that 30K on Strava. But if you're doing your long runs outside in the August heat, you have to shift your mindset from distance to duration. You have to focus entirely on time on feet. If a 30K usually takes you 3 hours, but the summer heat is so brutal that 3 hours only gets you to 22 kilometers, you stop at 3 hours. You don't force another 40, 50, 60 minutes of running just to hit an arbitrary distance. The psychological toll of running those extra minutes may completely wreck your training week. And it probably most certainly will make you have to recover from that run. And while we're on the subject of running, let's kill another ego-driven myth right now. The idea that you can't stop. If you're out there running for 2, 3 hours in the heat and humidity, you have to stop and hydrate. Simple as, no question. Stopping your watch to walk to a water station or ducking into a shop to buy a cold bottle of water does not invalidate your run. Taking a 3-minute breather in the shade to get your core body temperature down is not a weakness. It's a survival tactic. Dehydration, on the other hand, will ruin your workout and probably, like I say, take your entire week of training. Take the breaks. Your legs will still get the mechanical benefit of time on feet. Take the win, hydrate, and go home. For the rest of August, stop fighting the weather. Change the data screen on your watch. Hide the current pace for your easy and long runs. Just look at your time on feet and run purely on feel. The speed will come back the absolute second the temperature drops. I promise you that. Just bank the time, respect the heat, use the treadmill strategically for speed, and stop letting your watch tell you that you're losing fitness. Let me know how you deal with the summer heat and humidity. Do you get indoors on a running indoor track, or do you get on that treadmill? How do you get it done over August and September? Let me know down below in the comments. My name is Paul. This is Running the Sun, and I'll see you in the next one.